day basis, but there are so many things to be done. So we'll try to understand actually what is the conceptually biomass pyrolysis means, and what I have done a little. I'll show you, as I have shown you a few slides of our group's work. So let me begin. Just a minute. Yes, are you able to see the slides?
Yes, 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 sir.
Okay. So I'll talk about bio-oil from thermocatalytic conversion of non-edible seeds. Okay. So we know about bio-oil actually is nothing but a pyrolytic oil. Many people call it bio-oil, many people tell it pyrolytic oil, many people write it as pyrolysis oil also. So, but inherently the meaning is same. The liquid product that is enriched in organic components coming out from the pyrolysis process. So, due to this problem of fossil fuel that is getting depleted, so we are most of the countries are looking for the renewable energy. So these things we have discussed. I think many of other colleagues might have also discussed. So without much discussing about the need for energy and all these things, we will straight away go to the pyrolysis part. So these are some of the biomasses, okay, which is being used. So let us understand what is bio-oil actually. So bio-oil can be a renewable source of energy. So it can, if it can be done or generated in a proper way, that it can also reduce the dependency on foreign oil, or the crude oil, basically fossil fuel. So it emits less pollution, it is inexpensive to produce, it do not contribute to the global warming because it is coming from the biomass, and we assume that whatever that is coming from the biomass, it's all green. But if you look at the carbon dioxide cycle, then you cannot go for a proper mass balance because that is not possible. Okay, so which biomass is being consumed and which biomass is being cut or used to produce bio-oil or bioethanol or biobutanol or any such biofuels or biohydrogen, and how much carbon dioxide it has actually consumed during its growth in the photosynthesis, and how much of this one carbon dioxide is being again this one generated as a this one consequence of this so-called bio-oil or biobutanol or diesel burning. So you cannot have a proper mass balance. But what is the general perception of the carbon cycle is that with respect to biomass is that, so biomass, since we are using the biomass to produce fuel and that is being burnt, so whatever carbon dioxide is getting generated as the burning of these biofuels is being consumed by the biomass wherever it is. Okay, so that is the general conception and the perception, but we cannot go for a proper mass balance. It's not possible. Okay. Unless until you do a small area and you do this in a controlled manner, the mass balance, it is not possible. So biomass also help to prevent engine knocking, and no radical changes are required. Only certain type of biofuels require some small upgradation or final processing, like some finishing steps. Okay, so as it can be directly either used as a fuel or it can be blended with other existing fossil fuels. So most of our work, like my research group work, are focused on non-edible oil seeds to produce bio-oil. Okay, so I'll tell you why it is so. So the trees has long life and prevent soil erosion, can be grown any advanced climates. So the trees that are producing non-edible seeds. They don't require any particular soil condition with respect to other agricultural crops. It can be harvested in an ideal land. So these seeds are plentifully available from mature tree. They have high extractive content. So this is the one reason why we have decided for the non-edible seeds. then they have less lignin and more cellulose content. That means you will not get a high amount of the char. Okay, that will be left out as the solid residue after the pyrolysis process is over, and it has very low mineral content. Then low temperature degradability, then wood and grass. So it can, since it contains so much amount of volatile matters and these extractives, so its ignition temperature will be much lesser than that of the hardwoods and even grass also. So these are some of the reasons why in my group we have decided to focus on non-edible seeds. And anyway, since it is non-edible, so they are out of the food versus feed business. So these are some of the things seeds which we have already used. Mohua oil, soapnut oil, neem seeds, moha seeds, sorry, castor seeds, tamarind seeds, karanja seeds, jatropha, Niger, linseed, mahogany, safflower, and Kinjuk pistacea. So this Kinjuk pistacea I have not used. Even the safflower also we have not used. Okay. Apart from that, all others we have used in my group. Okay. And let us understand the basics of thermochemical conversion technologies. So once you have a biomass feedstock, so it can be wood, agricultural waste, organic waste. So you go for a thermochemical conversion process. Okay, so it can be direct combustion, it can be gasification, it can be pyrolysis, and today we are talking about pyrolysis. So in case of direct combustion, it will result in heat, steam, and electricity. Gasification will produce your producer gas or synthetic gas. Okay, and pyrolysis, the major product will be synthetic fuel oil and charcoal or biochar. Right. So all end users are energy or some platform chemicals that can come from pyrolysis. From other processes, it is not possible. So what is pyrolysis? So pyrolysis is heating of biomass at elevated temperature in absence of air or oxygen. So this is a typical pyrolytic setup which is being which can be used in the lab scale to do lab scale research, and this one optimization, right? So in the you have a small you have a pyrolyzer reactor. Okay. So and it can be a fixed bed, it can be a fluidized bed, right? So there is a biomass feeder which can be used to feed the biomass to the top of this reactor, and there can be, here you are seeing that this is a distributor to distribute the nitrogen gas. Okay, the gas is being flown because the need of the gas is that it will, since it's a fixed bed, okay, what it will do is that it will whatever the gas is being generated here, the vapors, it will flow them out easily or flush them out from the reactor system. Then it goes out and can collect it. So you pass them through a condenser, series of condensers, maybe depending upon quantity or the amount of the gas that is being generated. So two things happens. So one is the condensable part and another is the non-condensable part. So whatever condensable, it will be condensed into the pyrolytic liquid. The liquid is, if you leave it, okay, it will be separated under gravity to two different zones. One is this aquatic zone which is below, and that floating is the oil part which is rich in organic components. Okay, and non-condensable part is carbon monoxide, methane, and hydrogen, and whatever left out in the reactor after the pyrolysis process is over is called the biochar. It has high value depending upon the quality of the char. So biomass pyrolysis can be described as the direct thermal decomposition of the organic components in biomass in the absence of oxygen to yield any array of useful products, liquid, solid derivatives, and fuel gases. Eventually, pyrolysis processes were utilized for the commercial production of a wide range of fuels, solvents, chemicals, and other products from biomass feedstocks. So knowledge of the effect of various independent parameters. So these are the whatever it is written here, these parameters eventually affect the quality of the product from the pyrolysis process. So the biomass feedstock type, composition, reaction temperature and pressure, residence time, catalyst, if at all you are using, product selectivities, and product yields. So accumulation of considerable experimental data on these parameters has resulted in advanced pyrolysis methods for the direct thermal conversion of biomass to liquid fuels and various chemicals in higher yields than those obtained by the traditional long residence time pyrolysis products. So you know, when this pyrolysis concept has come into picture long back, 50 or 60 or 70, I exactly don't remember. You can Google it and see. It was used to produce the charcoal, okay, or activated charcoal you can call. Right. So this and that was a slow pyrolysis reaction. Now we have we are whatever there is so much of advancement has happened, and whatever we are discussing nowadays is flash pyrolysis, vacuum pyrolysis. So many different types of pyrolysis are there. We'll discuss later on. So let us understand what is happening during this pyrolysis. Okay. Usually the biomass is composed of polymeric chain of cellulose, lignin, hemicellulose, pectin, and others. Now the proportion of each end product depends on the temperature, time, heating rate, pressure, types of precursor, reactor design, and their configuration. Let us understand the reaction. Okay. So when you talk about less than 200 degrees centigrade, so in this, whatever is happening is nothing but dehydration. That means drying. You are basically drying the biomass, removing moisture at 200 degrees centigrade. Just move from beyond 200 to 280 to 280 degrees centigrade. Your hemicellulose in the biomass started degrading. Okay, so they produce syngas and a minor amount of bioil. Very small quantity of bioil. You go beyond the 300 degrees centigrade, around 350 degrees centigrade, the cellulose starts degrading. Okay, so it will produce the major amount of bioil, small amount of syngas, and a very small amount of biochar. You further go beyond 500 to 400 to 500 degrees centigrade, your lignin, okay, that will decompose or degrade. So it will result in a very small amount of oil, but it will result in more amount of char, the solid component basically. So this is the overall understanding of the biomass pyrolysis process. Okay, please understand that biomass pyrolysis reactions is not that whatever written here. Okay, apart from this dehydration, cellulose decomposition, hemicellulose decomposition, and lignin decomposition, there are hundreds and hundreds of reactions which goes on simultaneously. Okay, some secondary reactions, some tertiary reactions, and you cannot predict it. You can just cannot predict it, the exact mechanism what is going on. We can only understand in a briefly that these are the types of reactions that is happening. So these are the major products. This is a this is an example. Okay, what are the types of product that is coming from the pyrolysis? You can see the bioil. This is the bioil. You can see when you go beyond 400, 500 to 500 degrees centigrade, 450 to 500, 550. In that range, the major amount of the bioil is come. Now again, that a particular optimization temperature or any other process parameters will depend upon your feedstock. What feedstock you are going to use. Okay, so and there is biochar, gas, and other components also. So your conventional pyrolysis consists of the slow, irreversible thermal degradation of the organic components in biomass, most of which are lignocellulosic polymers in the absence of oxygen. Slow pyrolysis, of which I was just talking to you, that has been traditionally used to produce charcoal, and it is not so good nowadays because nobody is using it because of the short residence time, long residence time, and the long time it takes. Right now, we have short residence time pyrolysis, which are flash pyrolysis, rapid pyrolysis, ultra pyrolysis, and some other techniques also at moderate temperatures that can produce almost 78% of the bioil or the liquid products. Now again, I am telling you, please do not understand that whatever the liquid product is arising out of the biomass pyrolysis, everything is oil. It is not so. I showed you one slide na? In the picture image. You can see there are two phase separation. One is aqueous phase, another is the oil rich phase. Okay, that organic component rich phase is called as the oil rich phase, is the bioil, and there is the other part is aqueous phase. Now pyrolysis condition can be used that provide high yields of gas or liquid products and char yield of less than 5%. One configuration of an advanced biomass pyrolysis system, for example, involves an ablative vertex reactor. So basically there are different types of reactors. There are so many reports and publications, patents are available on different types of reactor systems designed and that is available. Many are commercialized for the pyrolysis as well as even for the gasification reaction also. So let us quickly understand the types of pyrolysis which are basically being adapted in general. Slow, fast, flash, and vacuum. So in the slow pyrolysis, the liquid yield is 35%, char is 30, liquid is 30%, char is 35, and gas is 35. So more or less a balanced yield you can see. But as you know, most of the time the major aim of using biomass pyrolysis is to produce bio oil. So when you do that, bio oil is the major target, then you cannot go for slow pyrolysis. So you have to opt for either fast or flash pyrolysis. So in fast and flash pyrolysis, we will get almost 70 to 75% liquid yield. Okay, the exact bio oil yield out of this 70 to 75% may be around 50 to 60%. Rest everything will be your aqueous phase. Now please understand again that this aqueous phase contains so many different types of chemicals, out of which certain chemicals are of very high value. Okay. So these are the different parameters, reaction time, like the residence time. You can see in the fast pyrolysis and the flash pyrolysis, the residence time is less than 1 second. 1 second. Okay, and the temperature is almost around 650 degrees centigrade. A rate of heating is very high, and in vacuum pyrolysis, you get more or less whatever you are getting as in the slow pyrolysis. The only advancement is that you get a less amount of char. Okay. So let us now understand the parameters that affects. So feed composition, feed size, heating rate, temperature, inert gas flow rate, and if you are using a catalyst. Now catalyst, why do we use catalyst? To enhance the rate of reaction. Catalyst can be used in two ways, either in situ or ex situ. So in situ means you are mixing the catalyst directly with the biomass and putting it inside the pyrolyzer. Okay, but the problem is that isko baad mein you cannot take it out. Most of the times the catalysts are of high value, commercial value, it's costly. So you need to recover it and reuse it. You will regenerate it and then reuse it. So reuse nahi kar sakta if you are doing for the in situ catalysis. So most of the time we go for vapor catalytic cracking pyrolysis reaction. So wahan pe kya hoga, here you can have a separate zone here in which you can put your catalyst particles, okay, in a bed. Okay, that bed height can be decided. You can have a single bed or you can have a double bed. I have a very nice work that is reported in a renewable energy paper. Okay, one of my student Ranjit Misra has done. So here we have shown that what is the effect of different bed heights of the biomass as well as your catalyst on the yield of the pyrolytic products. Okay, right. So if you put it in a ex situ manner, so that is basically we call it a vapor catalytic cracking. Okay. So then the effect of composition on char yield. So major components, as I told you, is the cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, and extractives. So cellulose, hemicellulose, they actually as well as lignin, all of them contribute to your organic liquid phase or aqueous phase or char yield. However, the lignin, the major composition, lignin, the major contribution is for the char yield, and the extractives, they directly contribute to the organic phase. So that is the one of the reason why in my group we are concentrating on the non-edible seeds, oil seeds, containing seeds. Okay, they contain huge amount of oils and the extractives. So the amount of the yield, the yield of the bio oil will be much higher than any other biomass. Okay. These are some of the reactions. Okay, so oxidation reaction, dehydration reaction, which talks about the cellulose and hemicellulose degradation, then depolymerization reaction, which happens beyond 500 degrees centigrade for cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, extractive, everything. Okay, dehydroxygenation and decarboxylation. So these are only some of the reactions. Okay, in a classical paper which is published by this P.T. Williams and S. Bessler and published in Renewable Energy and in long back 1996, I have given the reference also. So that talks about the reactions involved in pyrolysis. So they have, that's a very good paper. Okay, and mostly, as I told you, that apart from this, there are hundreds of secondary cracking reactions happens, which it is very difficult to predict. So mostly these are the reactions. So if you talk about the characterization of the seed materials, okay, so you can go for the before using the seed material in the pyrolysis reactor or pyrolyzer, you need to characterize them. You have to understand whether they are suitable for pyrolysis or not. So you go for proximate analysis and ultimate analysis. In an proximate, you find out the amount of moisture, volatile, ash, and fixed carbon. In ultimate, you find out the CH, O, and S, and then you can find out the calorific value. So I have only shown you here only the three different seeds: Mohua seed, Karanja seed, and Niger seed. Okay. So then you go for a thermogravimetric analysis, TGA, to understand how they are degrading. So here, from here, you can find out the temperature in which you are going to operate your pyrolyzer so as to get a proper yield. Okay. So I'm not going more into detail about this TGA. You can see that so many different types of seeds, non-edible seeds, TGA has been described here. Okay. So this is the optimum temperature and utmost yield from thermal pyrolysis of non-edible seeds. Thermal pyrolysis, no catalyst being used. Okay. So so many different types of seeds you can see here. This is the yield of the pyrolytic oil at the right hand side, and the left hand side is the optimum temperature. Okay, so you can see that mostly the temperature ranges is between 500 to 600, in that range, mostly 550. Okay, so most of the biomass you can go for a 550 degrees centigrade as the optimized temperature to eyeing for a higher amount of the bio oil yield. Okay. Yes, you can see here very nicely that I was talking about now. See, this is the total amount of liquid that is coming out of the pyrolysis. If you leave it for settlement, you can see this is the aqueous phase, which is in the bottom, which contains so many different types of chemicals. Some chemicals are of very high value, can be purified, okay, for further use. And this black portion is the fuel layer, okay, organic rich layer, which is nothing but the oil. Okay, so you can see out of the four three we have done in our lab. Pistacia, Khinjuk is been taken from literature. You can see in the Mohua, Karanja, and Niger seed, the organic oil yield is almost 40%, close to that, in that range, 38 to 40, 39, 40%, around that. However, in the Pistacia, Khinjuk, the oil yield is almost 55%. And there are other yields are being given here, aqueous seed and the total oil yield. So these are the fuel properties of the seed pyrolytic oil. So I have listed the calorific value because that is most important for property for the fuel. Second, after that is the viscosity, and then pH. Apart from that, there are other things also, but the only three I am showing you so as to understand. These are the three major fuel properties. The calorific value, you can see that calorific values of your Pistacia, Khinjuk, then that of the safflower, rapeseed oil, rapeseed seed, cherry, mahogany, castor, neem, Karanja, Niger, all are in Mohua are all above 35 degree, 35 megajoule per kg. Okay, in that range. So it's if you talk about the calorific value, it is almost it is very good calorific value, almost close to your diesel. Okay, then viscosity depends on the type of biomass. So somewhere you will see the viscosity is very less, like tamarind oil. Okay, somewhere you see the rapeseed, the castor oil. Okay, they are very viscous. So their use in transportation sector or fuel directly or blending is not possible because of the viscosity. You need to upgrade them. Okay, you need to upgrade them so as to reduce their viscosity. Otherwise, there is a problem of flowability of the fuel inside the engine. Okay. So the advantages of these bio-oils are carbon neutrality, potential to be self-sustaining energy-wise, increases bulk and energy density of biomass, source of valuable chemicals, no waste generate, source of solid, liquid, and gaseous fuel, and easy transportation. However, having said that, there are so many different drawbacks or disadvantages. Highly viscous is one I told you. High oxygen content. Now, please understand that high oxygen content is not always okay. Depending upon the moisture content of the your what is that is called your feedstock, the oxygen content will be decided. So, oxygen content in fuel is not desirable. Okay. Presence of water, that is also not desirable. These will create problem when they burn, okay, inside the engine. Unstable and less stable, okay, esterification and nitrification occur during aging. So the stability of bioil is a big issue. Stability matlab, when you produce the oil, now you need to store it. Okay, when you store diesel, petrol, nothing will happen. Okay, if you put it in airtight container, otherwise they will evaporate. But if you store this bioil, they will degrade because the secondary reactions like etherification, esterification, they keep on going even in the ambient atmosphere during the storing. So here, thereby increasing the viscosity again. Okay, gum formation also occur because phase separation will happen. Volatility decreases, decrease calorific value. So these are some of the problems. Then there are some acidic groups present. They also create problem if you are going to use them as fuel. You cannot use them in the low temperature region. Again, the fuel the viscosity is a problem and low thermal stability. So then, having said that, some of the drawbacks, what to do? So you need to upgrade the bioil to enhance it quality of the fuel. How do you do that? So you can go for a physical upgradation, you can go for chemical upgradation, you can go for hydrotreating, or you can go for catalytic upgradation. And this catalytic upgradation, this is what we do, and many other researchers do, because it is easy to do and it gives the better result. So as I told you in our discussion today, that we can do it in situ or ex situ. So in situ means the catalyst you are mixing with the biomass, not desirable, but for the lab scale optimization, for the research purpose, it is okay. But when you go for commercial process, you have to go for ex situ catalytic pyrolysis, that is also called vapor catalytic cracking. Right, so these are the catalytic pyrolysis of some of the non-edible seed. You can see that. Let us see this mohua seed. Okay, here where we have used the calcium oxide as our catalyst, the yield at 2:1, 4:1, and 8:1. This is the biomass to catalyst ratio. We have got very good quantity of total liquid oil, 53, 52, 54 in that range, almost 52 to 54 range. Okay, and the organic phase, the bio-oil part is very good. In case of 2:1, it is 40. It is one of the highest. Okay, and the yield of aqueous phase is 12 in that range, 12 to 15 to 20 in that range. And there are other things also I have referred here. Okay, so here our understanding that the total liquid yield and the liquid yield with respect to only organic component, the bio-oil, when you use catalytic cracking, is increases. Okay, the fuel property also increases. So the fuel properties of the catalytic bio-oil at various fit to catalytic ratio. So this is one of whatever I am presenting. These are our own work. One of my student, Krishna Sarangi, who has done all this work. Okay, so you can see that the thermal calorific value without catalyst is 41. However, when you use calcium oxide in various ratios, the calorific value increases, and at 2:1, it is the highest, 43.15. You may say that it is little less, but please understand, increasing in 2 or 3 for the calorific value is also a significant increase. And this is the most important thing. The thermal oil is 33.92 centipoise. Viscosity, when I use catalyst, it has drastically reduced. 2:1, 18. For when you use the this one 4:1 and 8:1 catalyst ratio, and you end up in a very low viscous oil. Okay, and pH do not have significant increase with ratio with change in the catalyst and biomass ratio. However, when you use catalyst, it has moved from your acidic to basic regime. Okay. So this is again fuel properties of the Koranjan Niger seed thermal and catalytic bio-oil. This is again our work only, whatever we have done. You can see that calorific value is almost in the range of 35 to 40 for most of the for both the seeds, Niger seed and Koranjan seed, and of course using different type of different catalyst too, different types of catalyst, and thermal. Thermal is without catalyst. Okay. So this is the GCMS analysis. When we do GCMS analysis, we try to understand the component. What are the components that are present? Here, without seeing the original GCMS, we have grouped the compounds. Because otherwise, it is very difficult to show here. There will be a 3 or 4 or 5 slides and the series number of compounds. There is no point in showing that. So we have grouped them into compounds. So you can see the major group of the compounds are nitrile, okay, and esters. So apart from that, there are alkanes, alkenes, alcohols, aromatic compounds, amides, certain types of acids, okay, and there are certain other groups also which are not grouped under this particular components. And this is the Mohua thermal pyrolytic oil here. You can see that the acidic part is the highest, followed by the different types of hydrocarbon which are not grouped under acids, aromatic, esters, aldehydes, and pyridine. Okay. So if you compare the quality of the oil which is coming from our this one catalytic pyrolysis, the properties with respect to the fuel is far better than the only thermal pyrolysis where we don't use catalyst. So I would like to conclude that non-edible seeds don't affect the food provision, so they are out of the food versus feed problem. Non-edible seeds are one of such potential feedstocks for the production of fuel by pyrolysis. Non-edible seeds yield more organic pyrolytic liquid than wood and grass. The fuel properties of the bile are very closer to the diesel. Catalyst has less effect on the yield of bioil. So the yield of bile is not significantly increased, but the fuel properties have significantly changed, or better, they have actually towards the better fuel properties. High feed to catalyst ratio reduces the yield of oil. Low feed to catalyst ratio enhances the calorific value, reduces the viscosity and pH of the bio-oil. Thermocatalytic conversion is one of the suitable process to enhance the quality of bio-oil compared to thermal pyrolysis. So this is what I have told you as a conclusion is all from our own work. And anyway, these are some of the publications of Krusno, which was published in Fuel. Okay, and he's the guy actually who has done all this research. And after that, there are many other students who worked on actually on pyrolysis. So I deliberately choose to show his work because this is completely focused on the basic works, including that of the non-edible seeds. Okay, so thank you very much. Right, and
thank you, sir. Thanks for your presentation. Now it is open for the discussion. If any participant have any query?
Yeah, if you have any query, you can please ask me. It's last lecture and last day, so and lunch time is nearing. But anyway, it's 12:30, and deliberately I have kept my lecture short, knowing that it's going to be the last lecture. Okay, just try to make you an understanding of the biomass pyrolysis. One more thing I want to tell you, which is very interesting, is that since most of you are teachers, many of you will be doing some research. Okay, if you want to start your research and want to have some quick publications, you can always go for this biomass pyrolysis. Okay, if you want to learn more and want to have some quick question to how to do it, you can write to me, or you can we can discuss sometime. I can this is not a platform to tell you how to do that, but biomass pyrolysis is one this one what is that is called research area, where by using only spending about less than lakh rupees you can make a setup and you can produce bio-oil by different biomass. There are n number of biomass still which are not being used by any researchers. You can use those. okay, to produce bio oil. But I don't know what is the facility you have to do the end product analysis. But those can be done at various other institutes like IITs, NITs, and any government institutes, CFTIs, and other institutes. Maybe I can help you sometime in analysis. You can take help of other IITs, other CFTIs to do the analysis. But because I understand that the high-end analytical facilities are not available in all institutes, you can do it on a payment basis. You can do from the SAFE in IIT Mumbai, IIT Bombay. You can do it in our central instrumentation facility. IIT Kharagpur has excellent facilities. All IITs, all central universities also has excellent facilities. You can do for a you can go for a payment basis, this one, or you can go for a collaborative research with persons who are doing work on biomass pyrolysis. Many are there in IIT Roorkee, here in IIT Guwahati, and many other central universities like Tezpur University and many other institutes like IIT Madras also. Okay. So you can do a small scale research. You can start a small scale research with just an amount of 1 lakh rupees, even less than that, and start producing bio oil. Upgradation cannot be done at this much of amount, but you can write a small project to AICT or any other MHRD, UGC for the funding agency of about 8 to 10 lakhs, even less than that, and you can develop beautiful lab scale pyrolysis, and including the upgradation facility, where you can have a good publication out of this. Okay, so thank you. If you have anything, you please go ahead and ask me. I'll be happy to answer.
Sir, good afternoon. Hello.
Please, Dr. Kaushik, yes, you are audible.
Please go ahead. I'm listening. Yes.
Okay. Sir, actually, I want to know that we are using fluidized bed type reactor or packed bed type reactor for bio oil production in pyrolysis actually.
Okay.
So how we can start the design of that reactor? Being a chemical engineer, how can we proceed to design a pyrolysis reactor actually, sir? Which type of reactor it is, and what is initial data we need for that?
Before doing a proper design of any pyrolyzer reactor, you have to do some base study without any design. So you have to make a small pyrolysis setup. Basically, you need a furnace. Okay, it can be a cylindrical furnace. It can be any other furnace where you can put a small cylindrical batch reactor, stainless steel tube reactor. So put your feedback and vary the temperature. Start from 400, 450, 500, 550 up to 600 degrees centigrade. See where you are getting highest yield. So you have to do some basic study. You need some data. You need the temperature at which you can operate it, at which temperature it is giving your highest bio oil yield, whether you are going to use catalyst or not. So many different things you have to do without designing any reactor. Okay. Once these data are available, please again understand that data are with respect to a particular biomass. If I use Mohua seed, that data may not be hold good for other biomass like straw or
Jatropha seed or any other.
There is no global parameter. Always these type of parameters are optimized with respect to a particular feedstock. Still there, that is the reason why biomass gasification and biomass pyrolysis, okay, has certain drawbacks in a biorefinery scale. When we are talking about a that is called a huge scale for producing either syngas, producer gas, or bio oil in a biorefinery concept. Okay, the biorefinery came into picture. We discussed about biorefinery in our last class. Okay, so this is still a problem because your pyrolyzer or your gasifier must be designed in such a way so as it can take into multiple feedstock. Suppose आज Mohua seed मुझे नहीं मिला, मैं क्या करूँ? बंद कर दूँ क्या? हाँ, I'm talking about commercial scale. I'm not at all talking about the research scale. Research का क्या है? Research 2 महीना नहीं होगा तो क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? Nothing will happen.
Yes.
But when there are commercial establishment,
it should have some commercial applicability.
Stop that no commercial establishment shut down gasifiers or pyrolyzers. You can do it for your maintenance, but you cannot shut it down like that. Okay, starting is always a problem, right? So your biomass gasifiers or pyrolyzers should be designed in such a way that they can take into account multiple feedstock. Now, having said that, we have to do the lab scale, small scale study for different multiple feedstock, try to find out what is the common ground of the parameters that can be coupled together. Suppose some feedstock will give you higher char yield, some feedstock will give you higher bio oil yield. How you have to understand what is your requirement. Are you looking for a bio oil yield or you are looking for a higher char yield? Because char is also a very high value commercial product. Okay, you have to optimize it. Basically, based on your based on your end product. बायो ऑयल चाहिए तो हमें कौन सा टेम्परेचर में करना है, बायोचार चाहिए तो कौन सा टेम्परेचर में करना है. Different feedstock will give you different thing. You please design such a pyrolyzer. Never design a pyrolyzer based on a certain particular feedstock. Okay, so
Okay.
one of the reason why we discussed about this, my group is working on non-edible oil seed. The reason is, this is one of the reason. Okay, आज महुआ नहीं तो कल करंजा डालूंगा, बिकॉज मेरे पास करंजा है. उसके नेक्स्ट डे नीम और नीम सीड डाल दूंगा, नेक्स्ट डे मेरे पास रेप सीड है डाल दूंगा, सेपरेट सीड डाल दूंगा. ठीक है, और भी बहुत सारा सीड है. ठीक है, that is the reason why the reason is that their characteristic features, if you characterize them using your ultimate analysis and your proximate analysis, you will see that it is only plus minus 10%, all the properties. Okay, so that means my pyrolyzer is eligible to take into account any type of non-edible oil seeds. Their composition is almost plus minus 10%, but I cannot put straw into that. Okay, with that process condition, that it will give me something, but it will not give me proper yield. Again, I have to redesign the entire reactor, or I can say I have to optimize it for the different feedstock. So this is the thing. Start with a small scale pyrolyzer, batch only. Okay, batch system. Generate data for similar type of biomass. Similar. Again, I'm telling you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
The example is non-edible soil. Why we work on that, and then design. Okay. More details we can discuss later on. Okay. Design details. Okay.
Fine, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Sir, I have one more question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, since you are talking on the design of these reactors, so the reactor which is used for bio oil production, can the same reactor be used also for charcoal production, or it has to be a different thing?
No. It can be the same. It can be same. Reactor, we don't have so much of variation of design. It's not required. There are different types of reactors are there, but once you design a reactor for bio oil, you can do it for the biochar also. Okay, only you have to vary the process condition, and you have to go for process optimization. Temperature kitna vary karna hai. Your heating rate is one of the most significant process parameters. Your heating rate, your temperature, then another very important thing when you go for bio oil production or char production is the particle size. Particle size of the biomass plays a significant role. You need very finer particle size if you want to produce high quality bio oil. You don't need that if you are going for char. Samjhe? And apart from that, you have to vary other process conditions, like whether you need a recirculation system to cool it. Okay, this is something more depth. Let us not go into that, but you can vary the process parameters to optimize the char yield in the same reactor, which you are going to use for the bio oil also. Okay, no problem.
Okay, with that there is no problem.
No.
Okay.
Any other participant have any
Thank you,
other?
sir.
Any other
Sir,
participant?
I have a question, sir. Hello.
Yes. Please go ahead, madam. Yes.
Yes, sir. Actually, I just wanted to know that is in bio oil. You said the bio oil. We can include bio oil as well as bio lube also in this pyrolysis type of reactions or reactor for production of bio. Actually, you told that by pyrolysis we can produce some bio oil.
uh, bio loop, for production of bio loop, we can we also use this
production
type
of
of
what?
reactor, bio loop. Bio
By
lube,
lubricant?
that is lubricating base oil
Oh,
stocks,
lubricating
not
base
the
oil.
lube.
Okay, I'm not
Yes,
getting.
yes, sir.
Okay. Yes,
Yes,
you
sir.
can use it. Yes, see that the process parameter conditions will change it. Okay, so
Yes, sir. That is the
lubricating
viscosity of lube is very high than the
very
oil.
hard, very hard.
Yes.
So if you are, yes, very interesting question actually. So if you are talking about a lubricating properties, then whatever I have shown you, some of these non-edible oil seeds are very good. Okay, but
Okay.
usually we don't produce lubricating oil by pyrolysis. Usually we extract the oil from the non-edible seeds. Okay, then
Yes.
go for other processing because you got the oil, pure oil. Okay,
Yes.
pyrolysis क्यों करना है? Because lube properties and bio oil properties are very different. Lube properties are
Yes.
more viscous.
Viscous. More
Viscous, they are
viscous.
highly viscous, and bio oil, actually bio oil का क्या पता है? Bio oil, we are talking about the alternative renewable energy source, so that if we upgrade it properly, I can blend it with diesel. So it has a direct use in the transportation fuel sector. That is the
Yes.
major thing. But lubricating oil has a different application. So
Yes,
usually
sir.
हम क्या कर सकते हैं? Extract कर लीजिए oil, then you can upgrade the oil for the lubricating properties rather than
Yes, esterification and transesterification,
no,
that may be the process.
yes, I don't recommend it to be produced in the bio oil. Sorry, in the pyrolysis. The reason that we are using huge amount of energy to do that, and that is not required. Okay, you could go for usual chemical extraction, and again go for some other transesterification or type of reaction or esterification. So you can get a you don't need those are not energy intensive process, but pyrolysis is an energy intensive process and its aim is different than that of the bio loop production. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Sir,
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
sir, yeah, there is one more question.
Yes, please
That
go ahead.
yes, sir. When we are designing any like any pyrolyzer, so there will be different process parameters. So temperature is of course one. But
Yes.
first question is that what are the other process parameters, and second question is that the how we determine the volume of that whole, because we have to feed, no?
No.
So how? Yes,
Yes. First is your temperature. First is actually the feedstock. Okay, what type of
Yes,
feedstock you are taking, right? Its composition. Feedstock मतलब क्या है? उसका composition. ये proximate analysis, ultimate analysis करना है. पता चलेगा कि ये pyrolysis करने से इससे कुछ निकलेगा या नहीं निकलेगा. नहीं तो क्यों करना है?
जी.
Okay. Second thing is the amount of feedstock you want to process. 1 kg, 100 kg, 1000 kg. कितना है? Based on that your ultimate you will design ना. So हर डिजाइन का एक बेसिस होता है. ठीक है? आप लोग केमिकल इंजीनियर हैं तो इसको समझ सकते हैं कि there is a basis for a design. बेसिस क्या होगा? Okay, मैं suppose I want to design a distillation column. किस बेसिस पे डिजाइन करूंगा? Okay, I can design based on the basis of a feedstock. Otherwise, कितना crude मैं process करूंगा? Otherwise, I can design based on what is the petrol or diesel I want. It can be done in two ways. You can do it for feedstock basis. It is easy to do on feedstock basis. मोटा 10 kg process करना है. So I needed a pyrolyzer which can handle 10 kg pyrolyzer. Okay, the volume can be in such a way. Third, is heating rate. The temperature. Fourth is heating rate. Okay. So these are very important process parameters. Apart from that, there are some other process parameters also there, but these are the most important. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Dr.
Chauhan, you would like to ask something?
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have one clarification. Sir, already we have the translocation process where we can get biodiesel. But what is the advantage of using pyrolysis to get a bioil, sir? Because
no, sir. Please understand the biodiesel is a different fuel. Bio oil which we are getting. Okay, the advantage is that if I don't want to upgrade it, which is again energy intensive or let us say costly process. Okay, so it will add on more this one. Then I can use it as a furnace oil. Okay, so furnace oil is in huge demand in most of the refineries, coal processing industries, and NTPCs, wherever furnace is being used to generate your steam. Okay, so that's a direct use. I don't need to upgrade it, but I want to upgrade it. If I want to use it as a diesel blend, then I have to upgrade it to enhance its fuel properties. Okay, or biodiesel you will get from only certain type of feedstocks or biomass, but bio oil you can get from any lignocellulosic biomass which contains lignin, cellulose, hemicellulose, and extractives. If you have more extractives, you can go for more bio oil. The way I use non-edible oil seeds, because it has more extractive content. Instead of extracting the oil, I can put it in the pyrolyzer and I get high amount of oil. Okay,
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. May I ask you one question?
Yeah. Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Other than seeds, can we use any other lignocellulosic feedstock?
Anything, madam, anything. Seed, I told you because this is what we do. And I told you why we use. Because the yield is very high. If you use straw, you will get some bio oil. 10 to 15, 21%. क्यों use करना है उसको? Straw can be used for gasification, ना? It will give me syngas. It's a better high quality fuel. क्यों करना है? But कौन सा feedstock को लेना है? That is the idea of the researcher, that you have to decide कि मुझे अगर bio oil चाहिए तो मैं कौन सा वाला लूँगा? Which one I will use? So this is the reason why we are using non-edible oils. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any lignocellulosic biomass can be pyrolyzed, can be gasified also. Okay, the end products will be different. If you see another interesting thing, I have not told you because we didn't discuss gasification. Gasification is the most important or commercially adapted process than that of the pyrolysis. Okay, but gasification के अंदर ही pyrolysis होता है. पहले जब gasification when how it happens, I'll tell you before we wind up. Okay. Somebody is knocking my door. Okay, I told him that wait. Okay, so gasification starts with a dehydration reaction or drying reaction. Okay, at 200 degrees centigrade. Next reaction, the first reaction. Second reaction is pyrolysis. जहाँ पे हम theoretically less amount of oxygen supply करते हैं, small amount rather than what is required for the combustion to pyrolyze this. So basically the end result of pyrolysis is char in the gasification system or the gasifier. तो फिर और थोड़ा सा गैस निकलेगा, ठीक है? जब चार निकल जाएगा, the char will use to combust it using some small amount of oxygen or steam. Now that oxygen and steam will convert the char to your syngas, synthetic gas, which is enriched with the major component is carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and a small amount of carbon dioxide, maybe methane, maybe water. So an interesting part which many people don't tell you that pyrolysis is always a part of gasification reaction. अगर मैं pyrolysis पे बंद कर दूंगा तो मुझे bio oil मिलेगा. मैं अगर उससे आगे निकल जाऊंगा तो मुझे gasification के through syngas निकलेगा. ठीक है? I think we will stop. Somebody is knocking.
One question was there from Dr. Chauhan.
Thank you very much. Please, if you have more questions, please drop a mail at kmohanty@iitg.ac.in. I'll be very happy to answer. I told you in the last lecture that I always reply to mail. Everybody's reply. Maybe one day I'll take. That doesn't matter. Okay. Thank you very much.